It's always that way. So that if you can ask yourself, if I were really closer and more connected to God, how would I be reacting right now? And you stop yourself from being angry, you stop yourself from being fearful, you stop yourself from all of the sort of negative emotions that are part of the athlete and the warrior time of your life, and you begin to say, the fourth archetype that Jung talked about, he called it the archetype of the spirit. And this is when you finally come to a realization that this is not who you are. This thing that you're in is not you. That all of the stuff that you accumulate is just going to be dust in a short time. I mean, we're sitting in this room right now, and there's a camera here, and there's chairs, and there's clothes you're wearing, and there's and you know, 500 years from now, this will all be dust. Everything that's in here will be dust, and there'll be something else replacing. So in a sense, it isn't even real. It's just an illusion. It's just constantly. But there is something that transcends that impermanence, and that transcendent is the spirit. When you begin to realize that you're not a human being having a spiritual experience, but that it's the other way around, that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And there were 60 people that I selected to write about their teachers and the teachings, and to provide an essay for each one of these people
Let's just show the book
in Wisdom of the Ages. And these were people, all of them, whether it was Thoreau or whether it was Jesus or Buddha or whether it was Shakespeare or Rumi or Mother Teresa or Lao Tzu, whomever of these 60 people, all of them shared this sort of awareness that that there's something sacred. You know, one of the Native Americans, Oren Lyons, said that when we walk upon Mother Earth, we always plant our feet very carefully, because we know the faces of our future generations are looking up at us from beneath the ground, and we never forget them. And I think that there's like an awareness that you get to at a certain point in your life where you know that there's a sacred hoop. There's something that's, and it connects you not only to you and I and to the lovely lady behind the camera, but to everybody who's ever lived before. And that the spirit that was in Shakespeare and the spirit that was in Rumi, walking in the 13th century, or the spirit that was in Buddha, is also something that you share, and that you can connect to that. That you know, you're never born, you never die, and so you stop processing the world in terms of your senses, and you start processing it from the sense of your spirit. And my books, from Erroneous Ohms right up through Wisdom of the Ages, and the one I'm working on now, are a reflection of my traversing through these various archetypes to a point where I no longer see myself as you know, as an athlete, as a warrior, even as a statesman. I no longer see myself in terms of my accomplishments, my achievements. I see myself as connected to the divine. And I think most of us, most people watching right now, have a great fear of their own divinity, because they've been conditioned to believe that divinity, that is God, is something that's outside of you, and that you pray to this God to have God do things for you.
And have mercy, etc.
Right, and the fact is that God isn't going to be doing anything different an hour from now than God is doing now. And you cannot influence God. God is the eternal now. And God is also not a withholding God. That is, He doesn't have the keys to your being healed of your diseases, and the answer to the scarcities in your life, and the ability to fix your relationships, hanging on to it, asking you to somehow behave in a certain way, and then He'll grant them to you. If I were a person who had all the answers to your life and was able to just hand you abundance and hand you health and hand you these things, but I held it back in order to get you to beg for it or to behave in a certain way, you'd say, you know, that's not really a very nice person, let alone a nice God.
That's right. It's ungodly.
That's right. So that there is an abundant universe, and the people that are a part of Wisdom of the Ages are people who tuned into that, independent of what everybody else around them would have them think and believe.
Sure.
Yeah.
As we say, kind of writing on that idea is this idea that God helps those who help themselves. So God is present in everything, and in our actions to help ourselves and to help others.
Yeah.
That's how you invoke God, in a sense.
The way I have always looked at it is that I think of God as like the ocean. All right, and it's the ocean, of course, is unlimited, and I am a glass, and I take this glass.
This is a classic Buddhist image, by the way.
Yeah, and you dip it into the ocean, and you say, now what do I have here? And what I have here is a glass of God. It's not as big, it's not as strong,
but it's a microcosm.
You're right. It's a piece of God. It's a spark of God, and just like a wave on the ocean is what the ocean is doing. I am what God is doing. You are what God is doing. And if you take a drop of that water from the glass and you pour it over here and you say to that drop of water separated from its source, I would like you to create and sustain life. Let me see you do that. And you watch that drop of water and you'll see that it'll just change form and return to its source. I don't know if that sounds familiar, but that's what's happening to everybody watching right now. Sure. You're going to change form and return to your source. So as long as this drop of water is separate from its source, it loses the power of its source. All right. Now, how do you get this drop of water to get the power of its source? It has to reconnect to its source. And this drop of water is a symbol for your ego, for all of our egos. It's the part of us that believes that we are separate from our source. And as long as we are living in the ego, the part of us that really believes I'm separate from you, I'm better than you, I have to prove myself, you are always disempowered from your source. As soon as you reconnect to your source, you regain the power of the source. As soon as the water gets back in the ocean, it has all of the power of the ocean available to it. Yes. As soon as you reconnect to God, and that's why meditation, that's why getting peaceful, that's why being much more spiritual, gives you, empowers you with the power of your source.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you were clearly empowered in the writing of this book, if I may say. It really comes through. And, well, I want to just tell you, it's really been a pleasure for me and an honor to get to know you and spend time with you. And
thank you.
The voice can become a unique instrument for social commentary. Zero Boy, a creation of performance artist Joel Farrell, performs his vocal acrobatics.
Lots of walls and doors, please.
Hi, my name is Zero Boy. The show that I just did here at Deep Dish Cabaret is an amalgamation of different routines that I do. And sometimes I do more routines that are more politically oriented than entertainment oriented, and sometimes I do shows that have a little less political content. I believe that you can change a lot of minds with humor, more so than you can with basic information or telling people whether they're right or wrong and proving it to them. I come from the tradition of fool and clown, where you're always making fun of the king and the duke and the royalty and the senators. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America.
That was good, Daddy. I'll do it again. Ow, 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 ow. I will go before Congress for the rights of every working man, whoever the fuck that may be.
That's mostly why my show jumps all over the place. I also think that people they don't think necessarily in 100% linear format. Their information doesn't come to them that way. It comes in bursts. So I try to jump from place to place and bring up different environments that they can be familiar with, and even wacko environments that kind of pushes the edge of what they're used to.
Oh God, I hate my boss. I'm gonna kill myself when I get home. Look at that. That is just fine. I gotta get me some of that.
I'm gonna do well at this corporation. I should really do great. I love work. I just love it. I gotta get myself an SUV.
It's a mix between cartoons and where's that world? You know, the deep undercurrent can be felt from different people. If what's coming from me is real or heartfelt, then they'll feel it or they'll understand it. The images sometimes escape people, but the sounds maybe bring them back to where I am in a story, or they develop their own story.